Now, Senator McConnell has put the jobs of firefighters, ambulance workers, sanitation officers, police officers in jeopardy. Every governor and mayor across the country has been fighting to keep these people working, and McConnell is pulling the rug out from under them. When a worker is laid off from a state or local government, it's no different than when a worker is laid off from a small business. They each have to feed their families, pay the rent or mortgage, and just have enough wherewithal, enough dollars to survive. The state and local funding provisions have broad bipartisan support from the National Governors Association, and within the Senate, many Republicans support state and local funding. State and local funding is bipartisan, unlike the extreme corporate liability proposal Leader McConnell made, which has no Democratic support. Leader McConnell has refused to be part of the negotiations. Leader McConnell has refused to be part of the bipartisan negotiations, and now he's sabotaging good faith bipartisan negotiations because his partisan ideological effort is not getting a good reception. Senator McConnell is trying to pull the rug out from beneath the Gang of Eight. We believe they have been making good progress, and they ought to be allowed to move forward because they are the best hope for a bipartisan solution. Now, on the other issue, which we had originally intended to discuss, this is the health nominees of the president-elect. We all know COVID warning signs are flashing. COVID restrictions are snapping back into place. Unfortunately, hospitalization and deaths are surging. President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris will inherit a once-in-a-generation health care crisis. And that's why I was pleased that President-elect Biden announced a health care team, including Dr. Fauci and Javier Becerra, as the next Secretary of Health and Human Services. Like most of President Biden's appointments, this team is remarkable for their long experience and strong qualifications. The Biden administration's health team is ready to deliver on Joe Biden's promise to follow the science to beat back the virus. However, the split-screen contrast between the seriousness of the incoming Biden administration and the activities of the Republican majority are apparent here in the Senate. The Republican chairman of Homeland Security invited Dr. Jane Orient, a member of the American Association of Physicians and Surgeons, a benign-sounding name that obscures dangerous policies. Dr. Orient opposes government involvement in medicine and views federal vaccine mandates as a violation of human rights. The contrast is astounding. America can't wait for Joe Biden's health team to get on the job and help cure this COVID crisis. Senator Stabenow, who has to leave quickly after this.
Thank you. Well, first let me share the concern of Senator Schumer's about the comments and the proposal that Senator McConnell just made. We've had over 1 million layoffs in the last number of months since COVID started at local police departments and firefighters and public health workers, other public sector people that are on the front lines of keeping us safe across the country. And when we're talking about having these vaccines move forward in the distribution and the efforts that it's going to take, when we hear Operation Warp Speed leaders who have been doing an excellent job of laying out a framework, they start by saying their lead will come from the governors, the mayors, the people on the front lines. So make no mistake about it. If we are not supporting state and local funding for those people on the front lines, we're going to see more police officers losing their jobs, firefighters, EMS workers, public health workers, the people that are on the front lines of this health crisis as well. So this is serious. The people who've been working on a package have done an excellent job. They've included many of us in our areas of expertise around the framework, and there is an opportunity to do something that people are asking us to do, which is to work together on a bipartisan basis and be able to address and provide help for the American people. And shame on Mitch McConnell if he loses this moment, if some way he attempts to block this moment, because we all feel that we have to get this done in the right kind of way before the Congress adjourns this year. There are moments in history when leadership can't wait. Certainly, leadership can't wait right now on this $908 billion package that everyone is working on. Many people, I shouldn't say everyone, but many people are working on both sides of the aisle. But let me just take you back for a moment. When President Roosevelt took the oath of office in 1933, the nation was in the depth of a Great Depression. We all know about that and what was happening at that time. 76 years later, President Obama took the oath of office again after a Republican president during the Great Recession. Unemployment rates doubled, home prices had fallen, he had to grapple with huge issues. And once again now, we have President-elect Biden coming in at a moment when leadership can't wait. We are ravaged by a deadly pandemic. Nearly 285,000 people in the United States have died. Let me think about that for a minute. 285,000 people have died. At least 15 million people have been infected. Businesses are going broke. Millions of Americans have lost their jobs, families going hungry and losing their homes. Americans can't wait, and the incoming Biden administration isn't waiting either. And we've got to make sure that we help them have that sense of urgency and be able to move quickly in the new administration. President-elect Biden has put forward a strong slate of nominees, including Javier Becerra as Secretary of Health and Human Services. He's spent his career fighting to make sure every American has affordable, quality health care, and he will be ready to lead our nation out of the COVID crisis on day one. He'll be supported by an outstanding team of health experts, including Dr. Vivek Murthy, who will need to be confirmed as well as Surgeon General. Now, back in 1933, FDR's entire cabinet was actually sworn in on the day of his inauguration without any Senate confirmation. Now, I don't think we'll be able to do that. I don't think that's going to happen. But we do expect that the Senate will move quickly to get President-elect Biden's nominees in place so they can go to work on what's needed on health services, on testing, on vaccination distribution to keep Americans safe and rebuild our economy. It is time for the Senate to show bipartisan leadership on these critical nominees and act quickly, because America can't wait.
Thank you, Senator Stabenow. She has to leave because of the late hour.
Yes.
Our caucus lasted longer. Senator Carper.
Thank you, sir.
He does not have to leave.
After 40 minutes, I wish I had. I'm an old Navy guy. We have a saying in the Navy, all hands on deck. And if we've ever been, I've ever seen an all hands on deck moment, this is it. This is it. Debbie just mentioned 285,000 people have died of this disease. How many people is 285,000? That's 5 times as many people whose name appear on the wall, Vietnam veteran wall down by the Lincoln Memorial. 5 times that many people that I served with who died in that war. You know, what we ought to be focused on in the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee is maybe 3 things. Number 1, how do we make sure we get expeditiously approved vaccines, not just Pfizer, not just Moderna, but there's another one that's coming down the pike from AstraZeneca that doesn't have to be super cold temperatures. Unlike the other 2 vaccines, where they'll maybe be able to produce 20 million of them this year, AstraZeneca may be able to produce billions next year. And it's a fairly simple vaccine and to take and administer. We ought to be focused on that. How do we expedite that? How do we make sure that it's produced? Number 2, we got about 40% of the people in this country who are fearful of taking any vaccine. I think our president is scared them to death that we're rushing it, but they're scared of taking it. We need to have a great messaging campaign that reaches out to people who are most likely to decline the opportunity to take it, communicate with them, convince them that this is something safe and they ought to do. And the third thing is we got about 330 million people in this country. We're not going to vaccinate kids under the age of 7. That leaves about 250 million people to vaccinate. We ought to be having hearings and saying, how are we going to get the vaccines? Let's see, we get the AstraZeneca vaccine approved. How are we going to administer these vaccines, the 3 of them, to 250 million people in the coming year? That's what we ought to be focused on. Not on these half-baked ideas that our chairman on the Homeland Security Committee continues to want to hold hearings on, but the real stuff, the real deal, the real skinny. That's what we call it in the Navy, the real skinny. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator Carper. Questions? Yes.
Senator Schumer, so, I mean, you and Senator McConnell have been staring at each other across this vast divide over COVID for so long now. Like, you've dismissed his proposal. So what happens next? And then just separately, I can't resist, can you please tell us about your rules changes that you expect?
I'm not going to tell you about our rules changes, but on this issue, the best hope forward is the Gang of 8. They've been making good progress in a bipartisan way. Leader McConnell has been totally partisan. Speaker Pelosi and I have supported a bipartisan effort. He never has. And as I said, I think that his refusal to be part of negotiations in a bipartisan way, and now an attempt to sabotage the bipartisan efforts of the Gang of 8 is the wrong way to go. Yes.
Did President-elect Biden consult with you on the selection of Javier Becerra to head HHS? And what do you say to Republican colleagues who are raising concerns about his lack of direct professional experience in the healthcare sector?
Well, look, I don't talk about what the the president-elect and I consult on in terms of these matters. But Javier Becerra, I knew him well as he served in the House and worked with him on immigration and many other issues. And he's a very, very astute political leader. He's very, very bright. He's focused, and people like him. I think he's an excellent choice. Yes.
There's reporting that the White House is pushing to include $600 direct payments in any relief package.
600? I thought it was 1,200.
The Washington Post is reporting it's 600 now.
Look, the bottom line is many of us on our side of the aisle, myself included, are for direct payments, but they should be added to the Gang of 8 proposal, not substituted for something else. Yes.
Do you agree with Joe Biden that human life begins at conception?
That.
Human life begins at conception. And
Look, my views on that issue are well known. Okay. Yes.
If the bipartisan package, say, is passed this month, how soon do you think in the new Congress we would see another package?
Well, I hope so, because even the Gang of 8, just about every one of them, has regarded this as sort of a first-time emergency relief fund. But everyone agrees there has to be much longer. And their proposal is a 4-month proposal. And that 4-month proposal doesn't, that's why it's cost less. If you prorate it out, it comes fairly close to the HEROES Act in a number of areas. Will we get that kind of proposal? America's going to demand it. And I believe Joe Biden, when he's president, will be able to get America so focused on this issue that Republicans will join us because it's so needed and so popular. Yes.
I know you don't want to go into details about the caucus rules changes.
No, I'm not going to.
But are you guys going to decide tomorrow on what you're going to do?
I'm not going into the deal. We had a very good discussion. Very good discussion. We've had 4 or 5 discussions already.
What's the push to get this done before the Georgia race is decided? Is there?
Look, again, the caucus rules allow people to bring rules changes before the body at this time, and that's what's happened, and we're debating them. Okay, thank you, everybody. Last one.
Would Democrats support dropping state and local and liability in this round of COVID relief and negotiating next year on that?
You heard what my statement is. Yep. Thank you, everybody.